what is life? Like, what is life? I mean, if you think like this is life, I mean, like my existence is a part of life.
Welcome everyone back to Fighters of Perth, the show where we aim to get to know our fighters here in Perth a little bit better, their journey, their story, and hopefully make a new friend along the way. My guest with me today is Leo Nguyen. Leo, thank you for coming down.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, pleasure to be here.
Absolute pleasure, man. And again, thank you so much for coming down. Leo has had 28 fights. He's fought interstate, got 3 state titles. So this guy's had some wars with some absolute legends. Ben Worsfold, Jack 300 or 250 or whatever, just to the top of my head. And Prabsuek, so many high-level fighters. This guy's gone and he's done it all. So thank you so much for coming down. Mate, start us off with how you got started in Muay Thai, your Muay Thai origin story. Yeah.
Muay Thai, so I have to backtrack it a little bit. So I moved to Australia when I was 16 and from Vietnam. So back then I moved here with basically zero English. So it took me a while to get in the gym because just take a few years to build up that level of language and have the confidence to join a gym. But before that, started from 11. I was involved in martial arts and like taekwondos and a bit of traditional Vietnamese martial arts. So always interested in combative sport. And back then in the 2000s, so I joined the Muay Thai gym in 2009.
Okay.
And in the 2000, as you can, if you can remember, the K1 was really popular
big,
back then. Yeah, and
was that when Borkow was like at his peak?
Yeah. Borkow was smashing everyone in K1. In my opinion, he won more than 2 times.
Okay.
But I feel I think that he got ripped off a few times. But Borkow was really strong in K1 scenes, and his background obviously Muay Thai, and that was and that inspired me to want to learn this new style of fighting. So I joined a gym in Perth here, run by there was a Thai trainer that I trained with. His name is Tape.
Okay.
Was one of Chatui's son.
Tip? Is it Tip? Was it or
there were 3 sons that were living here in Perth. Tip Tape.
Yeah, so easy to get mixed up. Yeah.
So I trained with the youngest one, and he took over this gym called. Before that, it was Kennington Kickboxing. That was by Lee Blackman. I never met Lee, but when Tape took over, I sort of like hear about the previous history of the gym. So I was there for a couple of years, just training socially, just sort of just training and just enjoyed training, and up to a point where we're like, oh, let's try this fighting thing out, and I had a couple of fights out of there, and then but the gym closed down shortly afterwards, so that was back in. So I started there in 2009, and then the gym closed maybe 2011 or 2012.
Okay.
So I had a few years off then. Train a little bit at Sang Morakot with Rob for a few months there. But it was just a travel, and I didn't. I was early 20, was still loved the partings and all of that. So didn't really find the commitment for the sport until I went to Synergy for a trial. Had a class there and sat down by the side of the ring with the boys and Blair. Just chill out after the session, and I was like, oh wow, this is it. Like, so just,
was it the vibe? What was it that made you think that was it?
Yeah, it was the vibe, and it was the vibe. It was Blair was super super chill. Like, he's like as hardcore as he is, but he was super chill. And I think other boys can agree with me as well that we just get this like sort of just feel this like fatherhood or like the brotherhood from him. Like, this is really cool. Like, we feel included. We feel we're part of something. And yeah, so it's just stuck there. Stuck with him ever since. And that was back in, I think, 2014 or 15. Yeah.
And how long before starting there and committing at that to that gym did you have your first fight out of them?
Yeah, once I started there, I started from just a regular class, and then I obviously I had shown interest in fighting, so maybe 7-8 months after I had my first fight out of there. And my first fight out of there was Lucas Sayer.
Really?
Yeah,
really?
so-
How did it go? Tell us the story about your first fight out of Synergy.
Oh, yeah, man, it was super exciting. That's when I sort of just over with the party, and I want to do something for myself, and I always knew that what I love to do in terms of sport, or just a way of discipline, just a way of bettering myself.
Sorry to interrupt. What age were you at this point? You said like partying. So what age was it that you're like, okay, now
That's when I was 24.
Okay, yeah.
So in my early 24, 25. And I thought, I want to do something good, and I want to focus on something. So that's when I put my head down, just train day in, day out. And then got my first fight out of there at 67 kg, which was quite heavy at the time, because I walk around 70, 71 kg. I mean, first fight, you don't really know what's going on. Out of there, because like I had a couple of fight on Ignition show back in the day, like got to be good like 5 years before that. So
And you'd had a long break, since.
so I had a few years break, and
It's almost like having a first fight again in a way.
yeah, exactly, almost like having a first fight again. It was exciting, was nervy, but in the corner I had Toby and Clint and another boy that were training with me at the time. But I just thought, let's just enjoy this. Like, there's this weird thing when on the fight day I always get like super nervous on the fight day.
I don't think that's weird at all, man. I'm pretty sure everyone goes.
But like
through that.
as soon as I get to the venue and I smell the Thai oil, the Thai ointment, that instantly calm me down. Like, here I am, like this is what I do, and this is what's gonna happen, and just enjoy it. It's just the experience as a whole, the crowd, and your teammates and your coaches there, and like things are surreal, but at the same time you're like, this is living, this is the experience I want to experience. I just love it, man, and just been fighting ever since, consistently as much as I can.
That's pretty cool. So, sorry, going back onto what you said there. So you don't feel, or you feel the nerves really hit you before you're at the fight show or the venue, but when you walk in, you smell the Thai oil. I guess you soak in the vibes of the actual venue. That's when you start to relax.
Right. That's when I feel like
you switch on, or
I'm just I have more. I think you come to acceptance of, because I think the nervous part is when you think about the uncertainty.
Yeah, it's the unknown, right?
Like, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if you're going to humiliate yourself out there, or you're going to get knocked out, you're going to get hurt, and sometimes it's not even that. Like, you just don't know what's going to happen. Doesn't matter how well you train or how good of a camp you had. You just don't know what's going to happen. and it's almost like, you know, walking in a dark room kind of thing. That's why I feel nervous. But when I get to the venue and like just that sent the crowd and, like, you know, the music and stuff like that, it sort of hit me, and it brings me to the present moment where I'm like, this is it, like this is what I do and this is what I want to do, and just accept what's ever gonna happen, and just have fun.
Just like an acceptance of the situation.
Yeah,
that's fascinating, because I think I speak for, I don't know if I speak for most, but in my mind, I feel like most people, or me at least, it's like the nerves are a little overwhelming until even, like, you know, you're face to face in the ring, and it's only once we actually start hitting each other that everything goes calm, because it's like, oh, okay, it's like you said, it's the unknown, it's the uncertainty. But then once you start taking the shots, you're like, oh, all right, this guy's just another human, you know. His shots feel just like anything else. And then now it's like, I guess, like you said, the unknown isn't there anymore, and you can just relax and enjoy the moment. So I find it very interesting that you kind of have that even before. So when you step in the ring, is there any kind of change in your mind state, or does that kind of calmness start from there, and then it just kind of carries over into your fight?
Yeah, the calmness starts from there, and there are fights that when I get my hand wrapped, I'm thinking about the fight. Just like, you know, other voices that speaking, and you sort of just like, I sort of just think, if like I read about, like, people talk about how we're only you know, spiritual being and having a human experience.
I like that. Yeah.
So imagine. So I basically think like this. I imagine that, look, I'm in this vessel right now. I'm driving this vehicle right now. Let's see what it can do.
Yeah.
You know, so I basically detach from that physical sort of like fear, and I'm just like, all right, let's sit back in here, and almost like you're in an Iron Man suit, or you're in a you're in a game almost. You just sit back and go, all right, let's see what this body can do.
That is super fascinating.
And it helps me. Yeah.
No, it's funny you mention that, because like, I kind of get into that same mindset, like if I'm having a hard session, because I kind of have a similar view on how things are. So that is fascinating that you can kind of detach, and it's like almost like I'm not experiencing the pain, but the vehicle that I am is experiencing the pain, and you're just like, all right, you know, just you're an observer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm the observer of this experience, whichever way it's gonna go. Wow. And when I have like when that thought is established in my head, it's chill. Just go out there and just whatever happens gonna happen. Like whatever gonna happen happens. Wow. Like you got no control over it. Obviously, the only thing you can control is your mind. Yeah. And this body. So just focus on that.
And do you need to be pumped up before a fight to kind of get? You don't like to fight aggressive anyway, or?
I mean, my style evolved over time. At first, is very instinctive. So I do like to go out there and swing aggressively.
But that aggression isn't because you're calm. It's not like you're angry. You're not built like. I guess it's not like you have to pump yourself up like you know. Like,
I mean, the only difference between excitement and nervous is the outcome attached to it.
Okay.
So the chemistry is the same in the body. The response is the same. So, like I said, when first started out fighting, because it's like in my head, like fighting is fighting. Like you're there in a competition, in a contest, and you basically want to try your best to either get points or hurt other person. It's very instinctive. So I do fight more aggressive at the beginning of my career. The more I understand myself, my emotions, the more I can be calm and start being a bit more calculated and be a little bit more technical and using strategies instead of just instinctively fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many fights did it take for you to get to that stage where you could do that?
I think there isn't a switch over, but I think from the 10th fight is when I can sort of I feel like I have more control over myself and my emotions. So yeah, from maybe the 10th fight.
All right, so switching gears, you 3 state titles. You got a WBC state title, MTA state title. You said MTA,
Yeah.
and then the ISCA state title.
Yeah.
You also fought Jack 300, or I think on the fight he went as Jack 250, who is an absolute legend of sport here in WA, and that was for. Do you remember how to say it? That was for a different kind of title. What kind of title was that?
It was Nai Kantom. Oh. Yeah,
Sorry, it has it's something challenger title.
Yeah. So yeah, it's what WBC have for like a special bout. Yeah, I still can't say it right, but
Nai Kanon Tom.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And what does that belt symbolize or represent in the WBC?
I sort of read up about that legend of Nai Konontom, and it's actually really cool story to him. This is way back in the wartime where he was he basically fought 10 people and beat them all in one sesh to gain freedom for himself and his tribe.
Oh, I think I heard about that story. So this belt is like. In honor of him?
In honor of him, yeah. So yeah, that was super cool. I didn't know who he was before this, but then after that I looked up and I read a bit about him. I was like, oh wow, that's they have such rich history behind this name, this legend, and the sport of his all.
Yeah. Is it linked to any sort of rankings, like something that you can defend that belt, or is it just?
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. It's just a one-off that. Yeah.
2 people fight for it. It's like an honorary belt, and then someone else can fight for it.
Yeah. But yeah, then again, I never think too much about the belts. It's nice to know, and it make a good. It makes the promotion look great. But I think I usually just focus on more of the quality of the opponents and than the belt and the prize.
It's more like who you have fought is the trophy rather than the actual belt itself.
Yeah. To the public eyes, they'll be like, oh yeah, this guy got this belt and that belt. But the people in communities sort of knows like sometimes like your opponent, the quality of opponents, probably like more important than the belt itself. So yeah,
it's definitely true. Well, talking about that fight with that you had with Jack 300, I'm just going to call him Jack 300 because he changes that. That obviously fight went the distance and it was very back and forth. It was a very was all out, from my opinion, all out war. First off, like, what was your thought going into the fighting someone like Jack, and just talk us through how the fight actually went from your perspective.
Yeah, Jack for a long time, like he had a really good run in Australia here. He fought all the top boys in Australia. Fought one of our top boys a couple of times. He fought Royce a couple of times. I think they got one each. Oh no, Roy beat him both times in a 4-man tournament. And second time he knocked him out.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, Jack super crafty, skillful, tricky. Like he has every tool, every trick in his sleeve. Mm-hmm. But then at the same time, I know that he has not been as active as I have.
Right.
and he a few years older than me as well. And I feel, I was hitting my peak, my prime. I feel like I've never been stronger, better than before. So that was a perfect time for me to fight him. I really look forward to it. And when I didn't think, I didn't just the usual routine. Like I train hard, get hell nervous the day before, get to the venue, and everything was fine. And I was chilling in there, doing my warm up, and get called out. Like, I mean, sometimes the part that you worry is like, walking out and doing the Ramoy is like, make sure you're doing it right and don't like stuff it up.
You shouldn't be worrying about that. You should be worried about not getting hit.
Yeah. So when the fight start, like after a couple of exchanges, I'm like, okay, like he's like, I got the speed, I got the power, and I got the technique to beat this guy. Like the first, like he throw a few kicks and I sort of absorbed that power. I'm like, okay, yeah, no worries here. And then he come in for a clinch. Straight away, I elbow him and swerve him. So I'm like, okay, well, let's see what else he has. But yeah, that was pretty much it. Like it set the pace for the fight. I think, that like after the first sweep, like he definitely had some respect for me then and start being more cautious on his approach.
Yeah.
And yeah, so just what I try to do is not allowing him to use his rhythm and timing on me.
Yeah.
So by like feinting a lot and just make them second guess about what I'm gonna do, and just have to be responsive.
Was it something you prepared for, like while training for him, like watching his fights, or just at least knowing about what he does and then using that in your sparring? Or did you just kind of go into there like, I kind of know how he fights, and then you just fight him?
Yeah, I mean, so I fought Eddie Duva.
Yeah.
I think 3 times, and Eddie fought Jack like a couple of years before, or even a year before that, and yeah, Jack was all over him, and me and Eddie was like over 3 fights. It was always close. So I thought, oh man, like Jack definitely has like something special there. Like obviously on the next level. So I can't do what I do with Eddie, or I can't do what Eddie did with him. Like playing the technical game and allowing him that time and space to.
He loves that.
Yeah. So, just have to be right there in the pocket with him, be responsive, hit him hard, wear him down. Yeah, that's sort of game plan. Yeah, so basically Roy, because, he had the experience of fighting him, and Sam Valentine, who trained with him at Calsoc, were training me for that camp. So we had a good game plan. Like, if he does this, we're going to do this. So, yeah. Feel like everything that Jake had, like we had something to answer to. So, yeah.
You said he's crafty. Was there anything that you felt was a bit of a challenge in the fight that you had to overcome?
Yeah, I mean, his kick was super quick. And like I said, like I didn't allow him to have that chance of using his trickiness. So, and yeah, he's such a showman. He will land a shot, and then he would have this celebration and get the crowd onto it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then usually it get in people's head, and then they goes, oh man, he's ahead, and I have to start playing the catching. Like I have to catch up to him now, and that's when he usually start pulling away. He's very good with the my game, and get the crowd behind him. But yeah, like we kind of knew that already, so we didn't allow him to do that. Yeah.
Your very first fight. Let's go back. I'm assuming you remember everyone remembers their first fight, right? The one before you even in Synergy. Tell us about that. were you a little bit more nervous before that fight, or did you have the same effect with the Thai oil? Who did you fight, and how did the fight go?
No, I didn't have any I didn't know what to expect, so I didn't actually have any I didn't feel nervous at all. I fought this boy, I can't even remember his name now, but it was, and their gym is not even around anymore. What's their gym name? It's got some, one of the gym in the north side. It wasn't like it has dragon in it. Something dragon.
Something dragon.
Yeah.
No, I'm trying to think. That's all right. But do you remember the guy who you fought?
I remember his face. I still got the photos. I remember his face, but I don't actually remember his name.
So you probably didn't continue competing for a while after you fought, right?
No, yeah. So yeah, half of the people that I fought against, not around anymore. Yeah, yeah. People usually have 10 fights in, and they pretty much called it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Only a few that you continue, and yeah.
And those are the ones that you remember because obviously they're fighting and they make a bit of a name for themselves within the Muay Thai community.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the first fight was such a blow. I mean, I wasn't nervous or anything, but going out there, all of a sudden, you get that, like you train. You know how you train good and you spar good. You're like, oh, I'm gonna kill it out there. And when you go out there and you throwing shots and it wasn't landing and you didn't get the footwork right and you're getting punched in the face and you're like, whoa, this is very different to what I imagined it would be.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that was my takeaway from the first fight. Like, yeah, it nothing like what I expected. I didn't win that one. Lost on point, but yeah, it was just like a great experience of like reality check, like what you're capable of and what you're not, and how you manage your emotion while you're in the fight. Yeah. Yeah. So that's all it did for me. I didn't remember too much about leading up to it or anything like that.
Around, Is there a fight that you look back on like, this is the fight that I felt the best in, maybe it was your cardio, you just felt like your performance was the best. You might not even have won the fight, but there was just a fight that stands out to you in your memory that you just felt like you just felt great.
One of them has to be the fight with Jack.
Okay.
Rolling from one camp to another, so I was already fit. I was already in shape, and basically just like working on strategies, working on like just different drills to basically every training, like all the training is altered to fight him on that fight, and I felt like I had all the tools. I had the physicality. I had the tool that I needed to beat him. So yeah, it felt super smooth. Like everything went the way I thought it would go. Yeah. Yeah, one of those fights. But or the fight with Ben was fault. That was a good one.
Yeah. Tell us about that fight. How did that fight go?
So it was a three-rounder. And yeah, we basically just sat in the pocket and trading punches, elbows, kicks, knees. It was awesome. I mean, that is one of the fights that I was quite nervous about. So Ben at the time, he has over 30 fights. Yeah. He was living in Thailand at the time at Sit Mon Chai. He was fighting on Max or Thai fight, I can't remember, but he basically knocked out 3-4 opponents in the road in Thailand before he come back here, and then we fight. And then player just said, we got this. We're fighting. Ben was fought from Riddlers at the time. I'm like, yeah, cool. But at the same time, I'm like, man, he's a killer. Yeah,
and he was on a warpath. Yeah, he was just taking on everyone and knocking people out and good people as well.
Yeah.
So I can imagine, I think anyone, no matter how good you are, like beforehand, like that would have kind of brought up some nerves, you know?
Yeah,
I think anyone would have been a bit worried before that.
Yeah, but at the same time, that nerve sort of pushes me to train a bit harder, to be a bit more serious about my camp. And like the whole camp was like, that's one of those camp when you like, it takes you to the next level.
Right.
Because you really focus, you're really serious about it. Because you know that you're facing someone good and you can seriously like get hurt here. So yeah, I had a good camp.
And that made you feel good in the fight?
Yeah, so actually I had 4 weeks.
4 weeks to prepare for Ben.
4 weeks to prepare for him, actually, yeah. And on the 2 weeks before the fight, they reckon they couldn't make the weight. Like they couldn't make 63.5, so the fight was actually at 65, and I was walking around 68, 69 kg then. So Ben obviously was a bigger boy. But that's one of the fight when I was like getting like nervous, getting my hands wrapped, and I basically tell myself, look, let's see what this body can do. Like, let's see, you know, what this vehicle can do, and that was that. And I walk out and. Just accepting and it's just enjoying it. But I remember during the camp, like, because I would have, like, in my recovery routine, I would do, like, meditation, breath work, flotation, stuff like that. And in one of the meditation, I actually visualized this image of us swinging at each other, like, basically, trying to kill each other. And I visualized the lights and the crowd. It would, like, that moment came exactly how I visualized it in the fight. That one is so, it was so like memorable for me because what I imagined came true. That was insane. Yeah,
that must have been a little bit trippy in the moment.
It was like like this moment when he like throws his uppercut and my head was in the air, like my chin was in the air, like it rocked me and like for a sec, and then I'm like, holy shit, is like this is what I actually imagined, and the crowd was like going crazy the whole time.
Right.
But yeah. That's one, like, to this day, like, no one hit me as hard as he did. Like, after that fight, I got 7 fractures in my face. My face was, like, out here. And I booked a holiday then, like, in advance. So the next day after the fight, I flew out. And the plane ride didn't do, any good.
Yeah.
Makes it much worse, and like because like when you broke your nose and like you fractured your cheekbone and like eye socket and stuff like that, like the gas leaks out and like we're flying and all that with like
something with the pressure like in the plane affects it.
Yeah, so my face was out here when I land, like my nose was just like a tap, like bleeding.
And you said this is a fight that you felt one of your best, like your best in?
So man, the start of the fight, we're filling each other out, like throwing heavy shots, but like halfway through the first round, I'm like, okay, like, I mean, he hits hard, but I got a chance here. Like I can hang with this guy, and like just more and more heavy shot. He lands like some heavy shot, like elbows, like punches, but I just ate it all, and I'm like, okay, like I'm here. So, and then, just pushing each other back and forward. I cut him on, like, just below the eyebrows here, and, like, his eyelids was hanging down here. And, we both had our moments in the fight. He won the fight. But, I felt like that's one of the fights that I most enjoyed. And I performed best in, just because I didn't have any attachment to the results of it all. Right. I just want to go out there, just want to experience this, like to the extreme of it. And it was one of those like crowd pleaser fights. So I was quite happy with it.
You must have also left that fight with a bit of confidence going into your next fights, like knowing that you could. Go at such a level with someone at that, such a caliber,
yeah, it's like I said, like that. One of those camps, it's one of those fights that take you on to the next level. And yeah, like the experiences like that, like make you grow as a fighter, as a person. And yeah, it's all positive things come out of it.
Yeah. Except for the swollen face. Unless you want to see that as a positive.
I didn't know. Like I didn't think thing was that bad because my face, like I didn't have one cut on me. My face was swollen and like I couldn't like chew. Like I couldn't basically eat like I couldn't chew for like 2 weeks. So I was in Brisbane because I flew out the next day. I was in Brisbane, and for like 10 days, like my jaw, like every time I move it was like cracking. It was like I can feel like the bones moving. And then I went to get a CT scan, and then come back, and the doctor was like, "Oh, okay, so this is fracture. This and this and this is fractures. This and this is fractures." I'm like, okay, that explains why.
Yeah.
And yeah, like my eye socket was fractured, and they were like, "Oh, that's a bit of a worry because that's where the eyeball was sitting on. If the fracture actually scratched your eyeball, that's when you get visual damage."
Right.
Like, oh, let's hope that doesn't happen. But yeah, so came back here, went to hospital, but that was by the time that was too late, and there's nothing they can do on the sort of facial structure.
I mean, you still look nice and handsome. So obviously, didn't do any long term. Well, that's noticeable. Any long term damage.
Yeah. I'm glad it's not so noticeable, but yeah, broke the nose quite a few times, and having a few fractures and depression of the cheekbone. So yeah.
Anything you still feel now, or not really?
Yeah. I mean, not to extent of like it bothers me, but when it's like sometime after a hard sparring session and you get like bounce around a little bit and you like start feeling around,
you feel it, yeah.
Like, oh, your jaw's a bit tight here and like, oh, it's a bit aching here and there, but yeah, it's not too bad.
Yeah. How long did you have to wait after that fight before having a fight, like letting that all heal before fighting again?
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I think that was one of the fight for like. Yeah, I can't remember if I ran straight back into it afterwards. This is back in 2019.
It's a while back.
Yeah, so yeah, like 5 years now. But after a fight like that, you definitely want to rest a little bit, let the body heals and recover.
Yeah, I think that's important to do that, especially like on the face or the head,
Yeah. At the same time, I like the fight, like me as a fighter back then were not as aware as I am now. I could have a fight like that and go out on parties, like,
a little bit more reckless.
Yeah, like, oh, you didn't, yeah.
So you feel like there's been a bit of a personality or a character development since those 5 years?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, after maybe the 15 fight is when I'm like, oh, like this sport, like the more I understand fighting, the more I understand the sport, the more I understand Muay Thai myself. It's at some point it's all come together and you're like, oh wow, like it's not just hitting the bag or going out there and punching each other heads off. The saying that you versus yourself never been truer. It's always just you versus yourself. You conquering your weaknesses or your emotions, and so that's when I come to realize, man, it's there are people who do this. So you know that saying, climb the mountain not so the world can see you, but so you can see the world.
Right, yeah.
So there are people who get to the top, so people love them, instead of saying I love people is different to get to the top so people love me.
Okay.
You know, it's very different perspective there. It's completely different. So there are people who want to be the best and want to be on top just so people can look at them.
Right.
But after the 15, maybe 17 fight, I'm like, that's not me. Like, I don't really care. I'm not looking for that external sort of gratification. I don't really need to look for that external approval. It just you can't lie to yourself, and you know who you are, and that's the most important thing.
Is that something you feel? Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, so that's the most important thing to me is that how I see myself, and everything else just noises. So that was definitely a point where it changed me in so many ways. It's changed me mentally, spiritually. Like I stopped, like, you know, worrying about what people say or what people think of me. It's just more about I'm on this journey now. I'm grateful for everyone's in it, but I'm not there to try to prove anything. I'm not there to try to, you know, make people love me. I'm just here on this journey to understand myself, to better myself. And sure, like, you know, just like every other human being, I have my up and downs, and, you know, I have times where I get distracted. But the course is to experience, to understand myself, and really just have fun and have a great time with people who are in it, like who are with me on this journey.
Yeah.
Whether it's, you know, my trainer, my teammates, or the professional that helps me. Yeah, just grateful, you know. So that's my take on the whole sport and Muay Thai and all of it. Is like after this 15, 17 fight, like I basically, yeah, a different person, like compared to, you know, 10 fights before that. And yeah, up to today, like until today, like that's how I view the sport, and that's how I view this community, and that's how I view myself. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's like in the beginning it's to fight, but then it's almost like through the journey, like what the journey does to you as a person and where that leads you is almost more valuable in a way. I mean, yeah, the fights are great and being able to fight is great, but it's what you learn along the way, right?
Yeah. I mean, the career of a fighter is fleeting. Like, you have 10, 15 years in your career. That's a long time. But still, like, you know, sometimes you look back, wow, like, you know, it's just gone like that. And if you just dwell on the winnings and on the like ranking and all of that, like you don't really have anything. You know, like when you achieve a goals, that's when the emptiness comes.
Yeah.
If you don't have anything else lined up, if after a fight or after you won something, and if you got nothing lined up, you got no plan, that's when it hits you. Like, what now? That what now is always there, waiting for you. So, if you so focus on the results, or just to achieving the goal, just for the hell of it, just so that you can say you've done it. Yeah, it's all well and good, but yeah, it's so fleeting. Like, you win the fight, it feels amazing. It lasts for like a minute or two when you're in the ring, and that's that. It can't be just that, you know. I love the saying when they say, "Oh, the person who loves walking gonna walk a lot further than the people who, you know, walking to get somewhere."
It's kind of like the joy is in the journey rather than the destination.
Yeah.
And that's very cliche, but it seems to be obviously really true.
Yeah, it is. It is, and I mean, look, like I've had moments when I thought this is the best in the world, like I'm on top of the world, but you know, like it once it's gone is gone. Like you can't, you can try to relive that moment and like tell the story of yesterday, but who are you today? It's about the journey that make who you are today and what's next.
Yeah.
Not so focused on, okay, well, I achieved this, feels amazing, but then it's almost like a drug that you have. If you want to be in that state all the time, you just have to like do the same thing all over again just to get that sensation, to get that feeling again. And I don't want it to be like that, you know. Like I want it to be more of, let's look at the journey, because the good things are very few and far in between. But what do we do in like what do we do with ourselves? You know, in this time in between, like, do you remember it, or do you like? Those are the times that those are actually the fabric of life, of existence. You know, not just these like good things happen, like just good moment that happens. You know, very few and far in between. So yeah, I try to capitalize life as it is, as a whole, not just those rare moments.
Yeah, it's a pretty good perspective to have, and it makes me think why or how, you know, like if your whole identity is in who you are as a fighter, and then you eventually have to retire. Like, it makes sense why some people, they can't retire because that is their identity, and then they end up going on a downward spiral because now they're kind of maybe getting a bit too old. They're losing. You know what I mean? It's like once you've done it all, your identity is your whole identity is who you are as a fighter. You know, your accolades, and you know you must go. Like what now?
Identity crisis.
Identity crisis. Like you have to become. You know. Now, I guess maybe your identity is becoming like the best trainer, or whatever you decide to do. But there must be a period of like, whether it's a week or a month or a year of like, who am I?
Yeah.
You know, what do I want?
Yeah.
That's never comfortable.
Yeah. I think, I read this thing about like every 7 years you kind of have to reinvent yourself, like write a new story for yourself, take on a new identity, because things get boring and mundane, like you after a while. But it's funny how you mentioned about identity, and that's exactly what I'm trying to say. Life as a fighter is amazing, and it's so exciting, and always up and down, heartbreaks. It's so cool, but that's only just like one part of life. It's not life itself. Right? Who are you as a person? Who are you as a son? Brother, partner. Like, who are you? Like, how you fulfill these roles as well. There's so much in life that if you just like having this tunnel vision in one thing, you're gonna miss out on. And and when you hangs up the gloves, you look back, you're like, oh shit, like, have I been a good son, or have I been a good brother?
It's interesting you say that, because I don't think anyone's gonna have. This is gonna maybe getting a bit deep, but no one's gonna have on their tombstone like one day great Muay Thai fighter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's gonna have great father, great husband, and those are the things people remember you. Remember about you.
Yeah, I love this thing about begin with the end in mind. Like from one of the books that I read is, so it basically say, imagine you are at your funeral, and people one by one will come up and give a speech about you. Like trying to visualize and trying to imagine what would they say about you. So if you're only a Muay Thai fighter at your funeral, like people only going to come up and tell, like, say how great you are as a fighter, and how strong, how fast, and how skillful you are. But like, what about everyone else in your life? Like, what your family gonna say, and what your friends gonna say, and all of this? Like, have you been there for them, or have you fulfilled your roles and looked after everyone? That's like to give you like the better. I mean, it gives me a more complete perspective of how I should live my life and where I should channel my energy, effort into.
What would you like to be remembered most about or be most remembered? I don't know if I said that right, but what would you like to be most remembered about? One, as a Muay Thai fighter, what would people you like people to remember you about that? I didn't quite say that right, but you get the point I'm trying to say. And what would you like to be most remembered about in your life? Is my question.
As a fighter, as a pit fighter, you know our mantra that the pit never quit,
yeah.
and like it's not just something it sounds cool to say, or something is rhyme. It's not just a saying. Like, we really have to embody it in the ring as well as in life, because to a person, anywhere you go, like, the most important thing is your heart. So as a fighter, I was never worried about to be remembered as the baddest or strongest or anything like that. But I want to be remembered as someone who always respectful, sensible, and resilient. That never quit.
So I had really strong mental fortitude.
Yeah. Because like what we do, like how we build ourselves, like this is like a course of character building, and Muay Thai is a great tool for it. So yeah, I want to be remembered, not just in Muay Thai, but just in life as well. Is that I want to be known as strong, brave, and kind, and smart, and all these qualities. So yeah, I know it's a like Muay Thai podcast, but I get a little bit more personal here, because that's not how I view myself. Like, if I talk about myself just as a fighter, then that's only a snap, like only a a snippet of me. Yeah.
Well, that's what I was talking to you about before the show, right? Is that I want the idea of the show is, we can talk about your fights, and that's important to get through that. But ideally, I want people to get to know you, right? Who is Leo? How does Leo think? And get to know the man behind the glove, so to speak. So I like that it's gone down on that tangent. So don't worry about that at all. Mate, I like how this has gone a bit more personal. But what do you think? Because you seem like a bit of a thinker. What do you think is the meaning of life? Do you think life has a meaning? You mentioned the view, whether you take it literally or figuratively, but that we are a spirit in a body, in a vehicle. Does that tie into how you view life? Yeah. What do you think the meaning of life is?
I think first, when we think about this question, first we have to think about what is life. What is life? I mean, if you think like this is life, I mean, like, my existence is a part of life. Not I am life, but I'm a part of this life, this continuum of times and space. So, like, to define what is life is already a big question, but then defining the meaning of it. But to my understanding, what is life is a huge question, and we're only here for 70 to 100 years, and that is only such a tiny sort of glimpse of what life is. And to a human mind, or to a human mind, I think we try to create meanings for our life to make it more exciting and purposeful, and feel like we're more important than we feel important, but really what if existence doesn't have to have a meaning? You know what I mean? That we have this one brain that do all the thinking, and it gives us the ability to do all this chore and things that we do every day, and it gets boring at some point, and then you think about it and you go, it can't just be this, like it has to have a meaning. So you think about meaning of life, but then
what is the big picture? Is there a big picture? I guess is also a question.
There? Yeah. So
that's the question as well.
Yeah.
Right?
So in Greek mythologies, there's a concept that this universe has the universe with multiple center, as in every rock and living thing is a center of its universe.
Okay.
So for the universe to exist is like you have to exist for the universe to exist, because that's your perception.
Right.
If no one's there to perceive universe, is it really existing?
That's a whole another philosophical question. Does it exist only because of our perception? Or that kind of reminds me of, like, if a tree falls down in the woods and no one's there to observe it, did the tree really fall down in the woods? I would argue yes, but that's a really good question.
You can, but then if you hear a little bit about Hinduism, like this is the idea of God. So the idea of God is not a guy with grey beard that sit on a golden throne. The idea of God is within. So is your eye that create the lights, because the eye can perceive light. Right. Is your skin that create temperature because of electric current in the air. Is your ear that creates sound because you can perceive sound. So the further you dig within, the closer you are to God, or to the Creator, and that's how you can connect and communicate with the Creator. So now, when you talk about meaning of life, well, if you look at it that way, then the meaning of life is really about connecting with the deepest part of you, with the purest part of you, with almost like higher power.
Okay. Would it be
I'm not a religious dude. I can't say I'm atheist, because that would be silly. But at the same time, I don't understand religion enough to make to establish a belief for myself.
Okay.
But through my experience, I know that the further I dig within, the more I can connect to the better version of myself. And where does it end?
okay.
To the purest version of you.
I know what you mean. It's almost like most of the time the answer's already there. You know what I mean? Like, you got to ask a question, and then you think about the question, and then the answer comes. And you, like, I don't know if that makes sense, but let's say you have a problem, right? And you just shift it, like, okay, you ask it as a question, like, how do I solve this problem? And then the answer arises. And I can imagine a similar thing when you're looking at yourself, like, if there's a problem within yourself, like, how can I be better? You ask yourself that question, how can I be better at this? And if you ask yourself that question, generally some answers start popping up in your head. You know what I mean? I don't know if you've had a similar experience, but yeah.
I had this experience when, like, one of my meditations, I just drift through this space, and I drift through this space so far away from the surface, so far away from what I can perceive of this world, that's what I can best describe it, is that I drift through this space, like completely dark space, and then all of a sudden I see there's a spotlight that's shining down, and there is dude, salt and pepper hair, like just normal clothing, like just this dude in his middle age. There's a coffee table, a vase with a single flower in it. He was standing with his like hand behind his back. I didn't even see the face, but talk about perception. Like, I don't know why I know that's me, but just a version of me that I have not seen yet. So that dude is so wise and like is so detached from all the noises of the like in this world, and he's just there very content, and it makes me like think a lot about that. I'm like, oh, so is this how you connect with higher self? You know, with better version of yourself, and infinitely, like how deep can you go, and how far can you explore in that realm? So that was my experience, and that was once, and I never like have that same kind of experience again. But it gives me a perception, like it gives me it helps me understanding when I listen to like, you know, Hinduism and like mythologies, and like, wow, that's my way of understanding it, and that's how I can relate to these things that I'm reading or hearing. Which was for me it was like a spiritual breakthrough. It was cool. Yeah,
mate. Oh, I feel like we can talk. I feel like after we're done here, I want to ask you so many more questions. So, mate, just for the time of the show, we're going to end it here, man. But thank you so much for coming on. Anyone that wants to follow you Muay Thai, but not just, like you said, it's not just about Muay Thai. Anyone that just wants to follow you along your journey in life, what's the best way for them to do that?
Can follow me on Facebook, you know, Leo Nguyen, or Instagram. I started this page called LN Performance US.
LN, for like, that's your initials, LN Performance? Okay, yeah.
I started that page like last year to want to venture into this realm of coaching and, coaching and fitness. I haven't done much with it, but yeah, that's one of the places you can follow me. Okay. Because that's where I'll probably put most of start directing in my energy and effort into. Because I need to my careers will come to an end, and that's I think I'm in this like transition from being a fighter to a coach, and I don't want to just coach people Muay Thai because this, a person there's so much to a person. You can't just teach them one skill and that will give them a good, meaningful life. You kind of looking up. You kind of have to look after the person, in every aspect. So, it's silly. I don't actually know where I'm going with this, but I just know that I want to have that holistic approach when I coach a person. I want them to not just be successful in sport, but as well as in life, in relationship. And that's what I'm going to do with this space. So, yeah.
Man, that's awesome. Well, people should follow along with that. And I hope you can get a little bit more into it because, I've really enjoyed this chat and some of the stuff you said. Same. I want to see where it goes, man. Thank you so much for coming down.
Thank you, man. Yeah, appreciate you having us.
It's been a pleasure. Yeah.